Hello world, hello internet. Happy Friday. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to Code It Live. I'm your host, Sam Basu. It is Friday, so it's time to kind of stretch our legs and chill and talk to people that we have been missing out living through a pandemic. So today, I'm super excited to welcome to the chat show my very good friend, Mr. Jeff Blankenburg. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. Yeah, hanging in there. Can't complain.
That's about all we can ask for, right?
Yes. So thank you for coming on, and folks, welcome to the chat room. Looks like we're live on Facebook as well today. So hello, Facebook. So hey, welcome, folks, and yeah, let's see. Chat room is starting to get on. Hello, Kevin. Hello. Yeah. All right, so Jeff, I've known you for years and years, and I have a bunch of questions about what's going on in your background. But
Oh my gosh, yeah.
let's start with you. Like, who are you?
Well, I'm a guy. Let's see. What's the best way to define me? There's two pieces, right? There's the person, and then there's the professional. So I'll start with the professional stuff. We'll get that out of the way. I'm the principal evangelist at Amazon for Alexa. And I spend all my time talking to software developers about what they like, what they don't like, and obviously doing a lot of some of the stuff you guys do too, right? Talking about live coding. I do a lot of streaming. I do all that sorts of stuff. So that's the professional side of me. From a personal side, I'm a guy that obviously collects stuff. I've got this collection here behind me, but I'm somebody that likes to be outdoors and spend as much of my time as I can out there. I like to drive my car in the mud, and I've gotten back into baseball card collecting lately as something that is becoming part of my identity again. So yeah, there's a quick tour of Jeff Blankenburg.
Nice. I've known you for years, and you're awesome. And it looks like the chat room. Hello, Sultan Burnham. Good to see you. He's from Detroit, and apparently front porches are getting broken down and stolen in Detroit now. I'm just joking with you, Chris. I saw some funny stuff you were posting yesterday. But hey, good to have you here, chat room. So, Jeff, where do you live?
I am in Columbus, Ohio, and I've been here since '99. It's weird. People say, "Where's home?" And in my brain, Cleveland is home, and that's where I grew up. That's where I spent the first 20 or so years of my life. And I moved down here in '99 and made a nice life with my wife and I down here and some kids. And we've been here for, 20, 21 years, I guess.
Well. And in the chat room, Taylor and Kurt. Hello, Chad. Good to see you. I don't know if I mentioned this on stream, but I used to live in Columbus. The wife and I lived like 7-8 years in Columbus. The wife went to Ohio State, so a lot of Buckeye pride. That's how Columbus has just an amazing developer community. And it's such a good place to live. Like, food is awesome, so much variety, and such a great developer community.
It is. The dev community here is pretty fantastic, and I think it's had a lot to do with how my career has gone, right? Getting to know people, having opportunities to speak and engage and network with people. There's no shortage of stuff like that here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have actually known you way back in the days, like from your Microsoft days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's like 8-9 years back now. So Jeff and me and a whole bunch of other folks got super excited with a lot of like mobile development early on in our careers. That was like Windows Phone and all the fun stuff. Jeff was you're like one of the evangelists focusing on Windows Phone back in the days, right?
Right. Yeah, Windows Phone and Windows 8. I spent a lot of time building cool stuff. You and I even collaborated on a book related to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I will tell you, if they brought Windows Phone in the state that it was in when they ended it, if they would just bring it back, I'd be on board in a second.
Yeah, the UX was just so nice.
It was.
And it's funny you mentioned the book. So like Jeff collaborated with a whole bunch of folks, and then we wrote a book on, I think it was Windows Phone Mango, which was one of the updates.
It was.
And I made the same mistake twice again. I actually wrote another book on Windows 8, which was like dead on arrival before the book got published. But
Well,
It's an experience.
the Mango book we worked on, I also had I had a book called Migrating to Windows Phone, which was actually like published hard copy book. I found one in Barnes and Noble once, which was actually pretty cool. But yeah, that one didn't that one didn't sell thousands of copies either.
No, yeah. So like back to Columbus, like anything you love or anything you hate? Maybe hate is a strong word.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's things to love and hate about every place you live. I think one of the things that I love about Columbus is that you have literally everything is here. Every store you can imagine, every restaurant, everything. And another thing to love is that, and this is a love and a hate, literally everything is 20 minutes away. It doesn't matter where you live or where you're going. You can get to anywhere in Columbus in about 20 minutes. The downside to that is that it takes 20 minutes to get everywhere. And so you can very rarely get anywhere without driving 20 minutes, but that's also the longest it's going to take you to go anywhere. So getting downtown, getting to any of the shopping areas, all of it takes 20 minutes every time.
Yeah. We have enjoyed our time in Columbus and we miss it. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, and you're where now? You moved to Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. So it's a little sliver. It's northwest Pennsylvania. It's a little sliver of Pennsylvania sticking out in between Ohio and New York. You can actually cross, like, if you're going from like Buffalo to Cleveland, like it's the thing in the middle, Erie,
Pennsylvania.
You don't have a reason to stop unless like you're out of gas or something. But it's nice. It's nice throughout the year. Great place to raise a family. But we do get a lot more like lake effect snow.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah. Did you guys get hammered yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit. But again, we're just like way too used to it.
Right.
Yeah. Writing a book takes quite a bit of time. Yeah, you need to be invested.
But I'll tell Chris, like, writing a book is not something you should shy away from. If you have the passion and the energy to do it, you'll find the content.
Exactly.
This is the same thing that I tell my kids with their essays. They're like, it said I had to have 4 paragraphs. I got 4 paragraphs and each have 4 sentences. I was like, and that was all you had was 16 sentences? Like, you have more to say. No, I've said everything I could say. What about this? You mentioned this topic, but you don't go into it. I guess I could mention. I'm like, yeah, of course you could. There's always more to say. Yeah. So I will encourage anybody, start with some blog posts. That's actually how a lot of the book that you and I worked on together started, was let's write a bunch of really cool blog posts and then kind of assemble them into a book of sorts. And I think it goes the same way. Start by just getting your content out there, and before you know it, you've got a book's worth of content. Yeah.
So you mentioned like you evangelize all things Alexa, which my son do not disturb. She's not going to wake up. That who cannot be named.
Right. Well, I'll throw. So you can see I have a few behind me here.
You have a few?
Yeah, just a couple. I try to keep a library of each different form factor. So like I have an old style tower here and the screens and all that stuff, but this is kind of my testing lab. So when I need to see how something looks on a certain screen or a certain device, I can run a quick test.
Yeah. So like, what is your like daily job involved? Like, what does it look like? What do you tell your kids what you do? Like, I mean, your kids are now old enough to understand.
Right.
What do you tell them?
They are. I think they understand my job some, but primarily I think they think that I'm some kind of goofy host on a TV show sometimes, because I do a lot of streaming myself. But day to day, my job is kind of bizarre, and I find myself justifying it inside my company as well as outside. But a lot of what I do is I try to be, as much as I possibly can, developer zero for Alexa. So when a new feature comes out, I'm working with the product team to make sure that I understand how it works, why it works, and how I can make it more accessible for developers, because they build APIs, they don't consume APIs. And sometimes being the consumer, it gives you a really good perspective on how you want to use it. But it's very easy when you're building an API to just be like, well, yeah, we'll just have this function and this thing, and we'll just make it work. And it works, of course it works, but it doesn't necessarily work in the way that everybody wants it to. So that's my primary focus, I think, is consuming everything that we have, everything that's available, going through our tutorials, creating our GitHub repositories, making sure that I understand how all the product itself works, and driving a lot of my own personal feedback back to the product team, sitting in meetings. I spend a good chunk of most afternoons sitting with product team folks, talking about the latest and greatest and the stuff they're planning on launching later this summer or later this fall. But on top of that, once things become available, now I take that experience and that knowledge. I'm writing blog posts. I'm doing live streams. I'm creating webinars, I'm creating as much content as I can, right, to share whatever that new thing is with the world so that it's easily consumed, because reading tech docs is the worst. And that's not how you learn, right? You want to see it work. You want to be able to play with it. So lots of creation of content from that perspective. And then the third piece is, with all of that content that I create, there's an audience somewhere that's consuming it. And so I try to build as many opportunities as I can for those people that are consuming all of this content and engaging and learning this product to be able to drive their feedback to the product team back through me. And so it's not only feedback from me that goes to the product team, it's also feedback from the entire community. And so I'm sharing that on a monthly basis with the product team to say, look, these are the top issues. These are the things people are fighting with. These are the challenges that they're facing. How do we do that? And actually, one of the big ways that we did this, we just opened our own like community Slack. So there's a new Slack. Actually, let me see if I can throw that in the chat here. But if anybody is interested in looking at design, if anybody is interested in talking to or getting involved in the Alexa development community, that's the place. It just launched last week, but we already have a couple of hundred people in there. So it's growing fast, and there's lots of great conversations, and the amount of help people get is just remarkable. So anyway, that's
yeah, nice.
That kind of summarizes what I do, though, I think.
Yeah, and maybe like I don't know if internet you can tell, like Jeff and me are getting a little old now. We've been doing this for a while, and
his hair's all brown.
Yeah, I know. Like mine, you can't tell. But like the whole like developer advocacy thing. I mean, it's a grown up profession now. It is very popular that every tech company realizes that you have to have people like this who are kind of in the middle between your tech audience and the things you make, and you have to be passionate about it. So
agreed.
Yeah, that's very cool. So like you are doing all of this now, but where did you start? Like how did you start your career?
That's an interesting story. So I went to high school in Cleveland. I went and some classes I took in high school really inspired me to look into journalism in college. So I started college in journalism and pivoted pretty quickly. I did well in it, but I wasn't loving it the way I thought I would. And so I pivoted to psychology, which was something else that I was really interested in.
Interesting.
And my degree's in psychology. That's what I went to college for. And so I got out of school, and while I was in school, I found some opportunities to basically get a job as a social worker right fresh out of school. And I think I was making, I don't know, maybe 20 grand as a social worker right out of school. It wasn't enough to even move out of my parents' house. I couldn't replace my car. I wanted to get engaged, and I couldn't afford any of it. And so I looked around, and as part of being in college, my wife was actually in visual communications technology. So she did a lot with like graphics and video and all sorts of other cool stuff. And I would see the project she was working on in college, and I was just blown away by what she was capable of creating, and I thought it was cool. And so I wanted to build a website for an organization I was a part of. And I said, can you show me, like, you guys know how to build websites. How do you do that? And she pointed me to Adobe PageMill, which was a tool way back in the day where it was like a WYSIWYG, right? Drag and drop kind of pieces. And I built something very, very basic. But as I looked around on the internet, to Yahoo and a bunch of other really popular websites at the time, this is pre-Google. This is in like the mid 90s. I realized that they were doing a lot of cool stuff that I just could not do with PageMill. It wasn't possible. And so I started opening my browser and viewing the source and looking at like, how did that structure work and how did these pieces fit together? And behind the scenes, I was taking some computer science classes just because I thought they were interesting. I was the psychology major that was taking chemistry and computer science and calculus, where most of my classmates were taking, art history and French appreciation, like the BA style classes. So I got the concepts, and it worked pretty well for me. So anyway, I get out of school, do the social work thing, and I'm not making enough money. And I'm looking through the classifieds, literally in the newspaper. This is late 90s. And there's a person looking for a webmaster for their company. And I was like, well, I don't know what that means, but I'll look into it. And so I reached out to them, and they had a website, but it was very basic and static. And they were looking for somebody to build out a really rich, robust kind of experience. And so I showed up, got the job. I was now making almost 40, which was like double my salary. It was amazing. And so for about a year, I worked with them and built them this really awesome website. And I learned everything on the job. Like, it was lots of just searching and finding and like talking to people online about how do you solve this problem. This is when you were in forums and things. We didn't have Stack Overflow and all that stuff at the time. And so I I built them a website. I built a bunch of administrative tools that sat on top of a database. Like, it was awesome. And about a year in, they realized that I had written myself out of a job. They didn't need me because the website was so configurable and changeable that like they could just do whatever they wanted, and it took care of it for them. So they let me go on a Friday at 4 p.m., which sucked. And I looked around, and I didn't find anything else in the Cleveland area that was really very techy. It wasn't a very tech town at the time. And I knew some people in Columbus, and they said, man, there's software development jobs down here all over the place. And so I went down, and my first interview was with Abercrombie and Fitch, actually, whose headquarters are here in Columbus. And I didn't get that job, but while I was there, I met the advertising agency that was helping put together a bunch of stuff for Abercrombie. And I got introduced to them. And before I knew it, I had a job as a developer with them. And so I worked with them for like 3 years. Now I'm on a team with a whole bunch of other developers. It was amazing. And that's where my learning really kind of took off. I was doing ASP Classic, VB6 kind of stuff. And lots of front-end development. And did that for a little bit. And then jumped to another role at a different ad agency. But I kind of hopped around the ad agency circuit in Columbus for probably 7 years, from like from 2000 to like 2006, 6 years. And then I got into some consulting at a company called Quick Solutions. And I met a ton of amazing people. And it was a collection of amazing minds, people that are still really active in the developer community today. And so did that for a little while, got encouraged to go speak at a bunch of stuff, and at speaking at events that, eventually I ended up meeting you at a lot of those events. But in doing so, I met a bunch of people from Microsoft, and the Microsoft folks said, hey, we like what you're doing. We like the angle you have. We like you as a speaker. We like the message you carry. Would you like to just kind of do this full time? Like, just be a speaker and talk about technology? And I was like, that sounds amazing. And so I got pulled into Microsoft in 2007, and I was there for 9 years. And so in those 9 years, I spent most of my time as an evangelist. I also did some program management stuff in the healthcare vertical at the very end. But that was kind of like, that was when I realized that that's my passion, is like making technology accessible to developers. It's something I think I'm good at and I really enjoy. So it's a good match. But then I left Microsoft because I didn't really enjoy the PM stuff very much. And I got lured into a startup, which I thought was going to be totally awesome and make me super wealthy, as everybody does when they join a startup. But it failed, and I was lied to on a couple of cases. So none of that stuff came true. Did that for just under a year. And then that was right when Alexa came out while I was at the startup. And I was like, well, that's cool. So I reached out to some people that I knew at Amazon and said, hey, guys, what do you think? And they were like, actually, we were just about to reach out to you. We need someone that can do what you do. And that was in the summer of 2016. And so I've been at Amazon since and been doing the Alexa thing since then. And don't see a sign of stopping. I think we're still really scratching the surface of what voice can do. And I'm happy to be part of that story. It's cool.
Indeed. Yeah, that's quite a story. And like in the chat room, like Chad, and we have talked about this. Like, this is one of the best things about our industry. If you can think straight, and if you have a passion of learning quickly, you're good. You can excel here. And I think you're being very humble, Jeff. Like, we all know you're amazing at what you do during your tenure at Microsoft. You've inspired a lot of us, and now what you do with Alexa. So
thanks.
What is the most like challenging part of what you do? What's the most exciting part?
The most exciting thing for me as part of my job is when I get to see that light bulb go off for somebody. That is my absolute favorite thing.
Like, when literally a light bulb, or because you can do both.
In some cases, that's totally true. But no, what I mean is when I can present a concept and they're like, oh my God, I have all these ideas. Now I understand, like, that is awesome. I love that. And so you'll never see me stop giving like those 100 level intro talks and workshops and all that, because God, I just love that. So I would do it for free all day. So the most exciting part of my job, I think, has to be that. But you also asked about like the most challenging, right? The most challenging pieces, I think, are trying to communicate effectively to a team of people that are not developers, that are not technical, that developers are different. And I still really struggle with this on a daily basis. But if I could just convince people that, like, and anybody that's watching that's a developer, and you yourself included, we are a different breed. And when you want to communicate with them, when you want to get them to engage with stuff, you can't just send an email. We are so technically minded that I guarantee you the email that you sent me you thought was going to catch my attention, I never saw. It's already filtered. It's already gone. I don't care about your emails, no matter how important you think they are. You have to give me a real incentive to engage or to participate or to pay attention to you, because we're being bombarded on a number of fronts by a number of companies. So I think that's one of my biggest challenges is how do I convince the normies, right? Normal people that are not technically minded or developers. How do I convince them that they can't treat them like every other consumer? That's something that I really, really struggle with. And it's always going to be a work in progress.
Right. Yeah. And then, but amongst all of the work that you're doing, like we all appreciate what you do for the developer community. Like Chad is saying, like you are a big part in helping out. And there's also a little thing that you do called Telerik in Columbus. Yeah. So
I've heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are folks, if you're watching, and if you're in the Midwest, like these are great community-driven regional conferences. Codepalooza in Louisville, Kentucky. Telerik is in Columbus, Ohio. We so miss hanging out with each other, but hopefully soon, sometime soon this year.
This is an interesting perspective I have on those kinds of events. Is as I look around at almost any other industry, there are conferences, but they're put on by a company for profit. And I don't know what it is about the developer community I know it's awesome and I love it to death, but I can't help wonder why there isn't more of this. Like I can't even picture what it would be like for a bunch of lawyers to get together and just talk about stuff and like share their thoughts. And like that hurts my head to even picture, right?
Yeah.
But the idea of developers getting together and sharing their knowledge and their experience is just so commonplace. And I love it. And the more we can harness it and power it and encourage it, the better, because everybody grows from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk about what's going on behind you. It's a lot. I see nanoleaf triangles. I see LED light strips. What do you have going on in short?
Well, there's plenty. You're right. So if we really want to go through it, I've spent a lot of time curating this office, obviously. The strip in the corner is made by a company called Govee. It's their Dream Color line. It is the only one I will ever buy. Every other LED light strip is garbage, as far as I'm concerned. And I've tried most of them. You're right. I do have the nanoleaf triangles here. Those are a new addition. I like them. I think I might have the brightness set too low, but I wish they were brighter. As you can see, I have a lot of flip camera. I have a lot of brightness over here. And then these strips, these are actually mounted with 3M strips just underneath the shelf. But what they're made by a company called LifeX, and it's the LifeX Beam. And each shelf is its own set. So each one, if we turn the camera, the wires are at the other end and they run down to a plug. But they can do anything, obviously. I mean, this is some of the most beautiful light I've been able to make with LEDs. So I'm a big fan of those. And then obviously we have a bit of a Funko collection here. So this is, I always say, I wish I could tell you you're seeing most of them, but you're not. This office, in fact, I can give you, let's see if I can do this. This is my office cam. And so
there you go.
This is a different angle. You can see I'm still here and talking. But up way up there, you can see that all along that shelf.
Wow.
That's 12 feet
Look
long.
at that.
Probably there's all those up there. And then there's all of these up here above me. So no shortage of nonsense in this room.
That's pretty crazy.
Anyway, and then obviously I've got a bunch of Alexa devices. This is my lab. But yeah, that's my backdrop.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. And let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, maybe because here's the thing that I may not have mentioned to you, because I mean we haven't been talking a lot, but we moved into a new house at the end of last year. Because again, it's the pandemic and we all need a little more space, and it's the longest I've been home. So and it's a new construction, so I am taking the time to do things right, to get kind of fiber optic through the wall and all that stuff. And that who cannot be named, our voice assistant, is actually a big part of my setup, because I have it in every room, and I have a few of the sizes, not as much of a collection that you have, but
Sure.
I have most of them. I still have a really old tap that used to be like portable. You could take it out.
Oh yeah.
And,
I don't have it here right now, but I do have. I have several taps.
Yeah, and I mean, home automation it's so much fun once you get into it and you start tweaking things. I'm getting into the nano loops as well. There's obviously the big players like the Philips Hue. I found like the C by G line is also actually decent. It's not as expensive.
The GE stuff is nice. I agree.
Yeah. Looks like you got some fans of your office cam. That's cool.
Yeah, that little side camera. The where did that go? The office cam.
At least you took the time to put on jeans, unlike me.
Yeah. No, I'm fully dressed every day. We got it.
Nice. So, what's new with Alexa?
Well, boy, what's new? Well, one of the biggest things that's new is a new device that's coming out. I think this is going to be a bit of a game changer. You can see that behind me, I have devices that have screens on them, but there's a new one that's coming out. Here, I'll share a link to it as we're going here. But it's a new device that has a screen, but the screen can rotate. And so they're actually using a bunch of ML and AI to without recording anything, right? It's able to do person tracking. And so if you imagine this is in the corner of your kitchen or maybe on a countertop, you can move 360 around this thing as you're moving through your house. And maybe you're working on a recipe or something like that. It can rotate and follow you so that you can always see the screen, and it's not just facing the wrong direction all the time. Nice. The screen can rotate in 360 degrees. So let me see if I can drop that in the chat if people want to check that out. But it's launching on February 25th. I'm pretty pumped about this one. And actually, it looks like they've got a special on them too. If you buy two of them, I don't know who's buying two, but if you buy two of them, they'll give you $100 off. That's pretty good.
Okay, now this might be a trick question here, Jeff. What are the technical challenges behind us not able to wake up our assistants by calling them Jarvis or Voldemort?
Yeah, no, there's a couple. So one of the things that is really hard to do is a Wakeboard engine. That's one of the more challenging pieces of getting these devices to work. And so when they launched them, they launched it with 4 possible Wakewords. I'm going to say them, but I won't say the A one because you guys know that one. But the other 3 are computer, Amazon, and Echo. So you can change it to one of those 4. But if you'll notice with all of those, they all have really unique hard consonant sounds in them that stand out. Yeah. So you have the X, you have the hard C in computer, you have Echo has a hard C, and then Amazon has that nice Z sound. So there's some really recognizable hard consonant sounds in those. People ask me all the time, well, I want to call mine Steve. Okay, that's great that you want to call it Steve, but Steve will sound like too many other things. And so what you end up with is a bunch of really annoying false positives. And so the reason that you can't change it to anything is because it will be fun for 5 minutes and then you'll hate your device. And in the best interest of our customers, we don't want you to hate your device. We want you to love it, use it, and talk to it all the time. So that's the primary reason. I would guess, and this is only me speculating, I don't actually know, but my guess is that there's some licensing issues with calling it Jarvis more than anything else.
As much as our techies would like, but yeah.
Right. But that would be my assumption on that specific word, because that does have some nice sounds in it. So I think you probably could train on Jarvis, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's processing to be thought about here, like what you're listening to all day. How difficult is it to figure out the wake word?
Right. And I would bet people that have those devices in their house, they used to notice that the TV used to set it off all the time, and like there were all sorts of things that you could say that would accidentally turn your device on. Right. That for the most part has stopped. They've gotten more and more refined. And in fact, when we have commercials on TV, we actually do some really interesting audio splicing. When that word is used, they chop entire chunks out of the word. Humans don't hear the chunks missing, but the devices do. And so they now know to ignore it because
that is very interesting.
That doesn't sound like it. So our commercials should not set your devices off anymore, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's very cool. So amongst all of the things that you have, like what would you say is your favorite tech gadget?
My favorite tech gadget. Boy, that's tough.
It is tough.
There's lots in this house that I really appreciate the automation for. I think one of the biggest ones is actually from a startup here in Columbus. It's called Garagio, and it's a little third party aftermarket garage door IoT device that you plug in, and then you can control your garage door, whether it had any smarts built into it or not. You can control your garage door directly, and that on its own is nice because I have Alexa in the car. I have the app on my phone. So there are times where we'll get a package and we're out of town, and I can text my neighbor and be like, "Hey, can you put that box in my garage?" And I can actually just open my garage remotely. It's become incredibly handy. But the biggest thing for me, especially now that I have a third driver in my house, my daughter is 17. She's been driving for
nice.
Is that she never remembers to close the garage. And so I'm able to set up routines that say, if it's 10:30 p.m. and the garage is open, close it. It's amazing. So there's so many times where my wife and I have gotten into bed or we're watching TV and we're like, is that the garage? Oh yeah, it's 10:30. It's closing. Like the number of times that saved our butts where the garage didn't just sit open all night is in the dozens already for sure.
Yeah, and it's nice, like the thing that you mentioned, like it's not always granted that you will have all of the things that you can rip out and make smart. Like if you can work with the existing hardware that you have and enable all the smarts, that's always nice.
Yeah, it's so much. I mean, I did look at like replacing the garage door opener, but man, there's a ton of labor in that. That's not something I probably want to do myself because there's a lot of leveling and balancing and making sure it all is proper. So you hire someone, plus you've got to buy the device, and like my garage door works just fine. I just want to be able to control it from the cloud.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so you're obviously busy with all the things you're doing, but what do you do after work hours? Like, what fun stuff do you do? What social life? Well, I mean, granted, like the times we're living through.
When we had social lives, So I'll be the first to admit, if it's not clear and obvious, that I am 100% extroverted. I need people. I need to spend time with people and be out and doing things. And so this pandemic has been hard for me because I just can't do that. So I make a lot of calls and like make opportunities in any way. I'll do a drive-by and just sit in somebody's driveway and talk to them for a little bit, although it's been so cold lately, that's hard. But as far as hobbies go, one of the things that this pandemic actually introduced to me was that I loved collecting baseball cards as a kid. And my mom gave me tubs and like big, Rubbermaid tubs full of all my old baseball cards when I was a kid. She gave those to me probably 10 years ago, and they've been sitting in a crawl space in my house forever, and I never went through them, and they just sit there. And my wife's like, what are we doing? Like, what is all this stuff? And I'm like, that's a valid point. Let me go through it. And I always say that, but I never actually do it because it's a huge undertaking. But now that we've had this pandemic, I didn't have any excuse. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go through my baseball cards. Well, I found out I have over 20,000 baseball cards from my childhood. Now I shared them with my brother, but they're ours. And I went through and I touched every card, logged every one of them into a database, looked them up in a price guide, like got a full list of exactly how much each one's worth, how many I have of each one, quality, all that stuff. It took me about 4 months of just sitting in my office most nights, going through a stack of cards or whatever. But it also got me to start paying attention to new baseball cards, like the modern stuff, which are incredibly interesting and valuable and not like the ones I had as a kid, which were way overproduced and are almost worthless. So I've started doing a lot of that stuff too. And so one of the cool things that people do today is they have started doing what we call card breaks, where they will buy a box of brand new packs of cards. And instead of just opening them for themselves, they will auction off the rights to all the teams. There's 30 baseball teams. They'll auction off the rights on eBay or something to all 30 teams. And then live on stream, like we're doing now, I will open all the packs, look at every card, and then mail the cards for each team to the people that bid on them. It's super fun because like I get to see all sorts of cards. I get to like open them and see them and read them and look at all of them. But then I get to basically break even on the deal, and everybody gets the cards for the team that they really care about. So they don't have to go out and buy a bunch of random packs themselves. So card breaking has become one of my new hobbies. I'm really enjoying it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
it's your collection, but I was going to ask, like, you're probably sitting on like some value here.
Well, the stuff that I had as a kid, there are a couple of valuable cards, but most of the cards that I had as a kid were in what they call the junk wax era, and the card companies just made so many. Like like today, you can go on eBay and still buy cases of boxes of packs, and each pack will cost you 30 cents. And it could have any card in it at all. It doesn't matter because none of the cards are worth anything because there were just so many. So my childhood collection with the 20,000 cards, if it's worth $10,000, I would be very surprised, which would be 50 cents a card. So, but the modern stuff, they figured it out. They have a good formula. They limit production. They uniquely number some of the cards. So you'll get one and it's 25 out of 25. They only made 25 of them in total. They make some that are one of one. That's been really fun to play with and chase and start to collect again. So yeah, the card breaking is a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, awesome. What is your favorite cuisine or food?
Ooh, well, this is another quick story. So in September, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Wow.
And so normally my answer would probably have been some of the authentic Indian food that I got to go to Bangalore and Delhi in February of last year, right before the pandemic. And I had some of the best food that I may have ever had there in India. But I also love Chinese food. I'm in love with good pizza. So there isn't a lot that I don't like. I tend to stay away from things like fish. There's not a lot of seafood that I really enjoy, which is unfortunate because I go to Seattle all the time and there's amazing seafood there, but that's just never been my thing. But because of this diet that I've been on and because of the restriction, it's no sugar, no flour. I've had no sugar, no flour for 4.5 months. I've lost a ton of weight, but I might be willing to cut somebody for a piece of pizza right now because God, that sounds so good. So pizza is always a good go-to for me. I like dessert, but dessert's not really a thing that I care about. If it's there, I'll eat it. But pizza, Chinese food, anything with breading on it. Oh, that sounds so good.
I hear you, but again, good for you to lose all that weight. And,
thanks. I think I'm probably one of the few people that lost weight during this pandemic. I think most people are like, I got the pandemic 10.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you do? And it was like stressful. It's a lot of stress that you're handling, and you got to take care of yourself a little bit. But I think most of us are kind of starting to turn around and say, okay, this was probably not good for our bodies now. Let's go back and do the same thing, like the right thing. And like sugar is such a killer. And you don't realize like how much sugar they just like, it's become a thing in our like packaged foods, like kids. And there's sugar everywhere.
There's sugar in everything. Like literally in everything. And it's not even like a little bit of sugar. It's a lot of added sugar. Yeah. So the diet I'm on, it's called Bright Line Eating, but it's basically no added sugar. So like I have fruit. I have things with carbs in them, but it's going to be natural fruit, right? I can't have processed sugar of any kind in anything. And the way it treats it is like flour and sugar are refined consistently over and over, and you create this fine white powder, whether it's flour or sugar. And it's addictive. Like it's really hard to get away from those things. And it took me a while to break it. But the whole philosophy is that it treats it a lot like you would treat a drug addict or an alcoholic, right? You don't say to an alcoholic, you could have one beer, it'd be fine, right? Like that would sound horrible. And so the same goes with this. Like you just can't have flour or sugar. You just need to cut it out completely. And it's worked for me. So this is not a lifestyle. I will be back in the pizza, cheeseburger, cheesesteak game soon enough. But I now know how to manage my weight and how to eat in a way that will keep it off.
That's very good. All right, maybe another trick question. If you had $1 million right now, what would you do?
$1 million. Actually, I just found a way to spend $1 million this morning. So
please tell.
So I have 6 buddies from high school. We've always been close, always been tight, and we usually go to an away Cleveland Indians series every year before pandemic, where we would just go hang out. We watch baseball games every day and like hang out and eat food and do stuff during the weekend. We also go to an away Browns game every year pre-pandemic. And so these are close buddies of mine, right? All of our kids know each other. We hang out as often as we can, but we don't all live in the same cities. There's a couple in DC. There's one in Pittsburgh. There's a couple in Cleveland. I'm in Columbus. There's one in Central Illinois. So we're spread out. We don't see each other nearly often enough. And we've always talked about buying a compound, right? Just like a huge plot of land, 100 acres, 100 plus acres. And we put some houses on it. And that's just, once we're done like raising children, we all just move there. And that's where it will be. And so I was just looking at land. I was just looking at land this morning, and there's one about halfway between Cleveland and Columbus. They want 1.3 million for it. And it's got a gorgeous house with 6 bedrooms. It's got a huge barn. It's got a pond, plenty of wooded forest. And I was like, that's exactly what I would spend $1 million on.
Yeah, you can easily blow $1 million on that. Yeah. It's amazing.
But it's weird to me because it seems to be a common thread. Developers are so into technology and the internet and connectivity, and so many of us just want to get off the grid. Just like, I just want a place where I can go away. And I think that's my aspiration for that. So at some point, you're going to find out, like, Jeff moved to the woods. That's where he went.
Well, he's streaming from the woods.
Yeah. No, I still want like space. We'll find a way to make it happen.
And you're one of the, like, speaking of football, like, you're one of the hardcore Browns fans, and it takes a lot of loyalty. And you've had a good run.
This season was pretty good.
I did something really bad to somebody from Boston because I said, like, how does it feel to be in the Super Bowl? And just like a moment of brain freeze, and it's like, it's just been so long. Like, it's hard to separate Brady from the rest.
But Tom Brady made the Super Bowl again. This is a fun statistic I've been sharing with people. For anybody that follows the NBA, there's an amazing basketball player named Stephen Curry. He makes pretty much every three-pointer he takes. It's actually 43%, which is the highest ever of any basketball player ever. He makes 43% of his shots. With Tom Brady making the Super Bowl this year, he has been to 47.5% of every Super Bowl he was eligible for. He goes to nearly half the Super Bowls in the seasons he's played. That's crazy. Some guys might be lucky to make it to 1 in their entire life. Yeah. And he's been to 10. Well, he'll have been to 10 on Sunday. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
Much respect for that guy. I mean, I don't like him as a person at all, but much respect for what he has done in his career.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff, what are you looking forward to in the next, like, 6 months to a year? What gets you excited? People and travel. Delta keeps sending me messages like, "Hey, we just want to let you know you still have diamond status, but this is the last year we're going to give it to you for free because you haven't traveled at all." Traveling is a big thing for me. People is another, but that's the stuff that I'm really looking forward to. Is just people. Everybody's getting hugs. Just a warning now. If I see you, you're getting hugs. So, that's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, well, Jeff, you're amazing. Not just from a technology perspective, but you're an amazing human being. I've known you for years and years. So keep being awesome. Keep inspiring us. Thank you for making the time to hop on this show. We love you. And keep being you.
Hopefully, thank you so much, Sam. It's a pleasure. And I was so happy to see all of you guys, you and Ed and Alyssa and everybody doing all this cool stuff on Twitch as well. So I love tuning in, watching what you guys are doing. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I got invited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And I think this may be it for this week on the channel here, folks, especially on Twitch. But next week, we're actually doing something fun called the Love Connection, because, like, Valentine's Day is coming up. So we're going to try being like the Grinch that steals Valentine's Day and do some wacky stuff, but kind of breaking off into 2 teams and fighting each other. Should be fun.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. So, folks, if you need to get hold of Jeff, like that, over there, that's his Twitter handle. And do you stream from the same handle?
I do. I have the same handle literally everywhere. It's the blessing of having a unique name. But yeah, so you can find me literally everywhere: GitHub, Twitch, TikTok, every place with Jeff Blankenburg.
All right, cool. So, folks, that's where you can find Jeff. And thank you for hanging out with us, everyone here, Chad and Chris and Kevin. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Please be kind to yourself and your families, and be productive, be happy in whatever you're doing. So until then, we shall see you on the next stream. All right.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.